Man, this stuff is good. Yeah, man, you want to try some of the new stuff my dealer gave me? Sure. Oh man, it's crazy. It'll make you loopy. Let's see it. Alright, you ready? Welcome to Mike's Gaming Gala. I'm Mike, and this week we're looking at Loopz for the Atari Lynx, published by Songbird Productions. Loopz comes in a professionally printed box, with a pamphlet that serves as a manual, and of course, a cartridge. This game runs for $60 in the Songbird online store, or you can get a box with 2 cartridges in it for $90. Why would you want to do that, you ask? Well, Loopz supports 2-player via the Comlinks cable. Is it worth it though? Let's give it a play and find out. After the splash screens, we get to a title card that tells us to press A or B to play the game. Doing that, we get what at first may be an overwhelming array of options. Your first option here is the game type. There are 3 different game types here, and we'll look at them all. Next is the game level, which you could consider the difficulty, with 0 being the easiest and 9 being the hardest, followed by preview and sound effect on-off options. At the right, you get to choose the style of your cursor, as well as what the A and B buttons do. Last but not least, like any great puzzle game, you get to choose the music you play to. Clicking OK starts a game with the settings you chose. Let's start with chain loops. In every game mode, the basic concept of loops is the same. Place random shapes in such a way as it will complete an enclosure or loop. Chain loops is an ongoing game where you're constructing loops for points. How Loopz plays is that you're given randomly shaped pieces that you have to place somewhere on the playfield within a time limit. Like I said, the goal is to place these pieces to form contiguous lines that enclose themselves, or loops. Every time you complete a loop, it disappears and you get points for every square that was a part of that shape you made. At first, you'll feel like this is no problem, but the playfield gets tight really quickly. No matter how clean you try to keep the shapes on your field, eventually you're going to be presented with a piece that you can't use. You won't want it, but too bad, you have to place it. There can be a bit of a panic when this happens. You can always just place it to the side, but you have to make sure that you don't put it somewhere that will interrupt either the loops you're currently building or the ones that you may be building later in the game. To help you plan and to let you know how much time you have to place your piece, there's an area at the bottom of the screen that shows you what piece is coming up next. And the border that surrounds it acts as a timer. If you don't place your piece before this border disappears, you'll lose a life as represented in the lower left above your score. If you run out of lives, it's game over, so the pressure is on to use the pieces that you're given. Eventually, the grid gets so full of random shapes that you were forced to place that it becomes very difficult to clear anything. Thankfully, every once in a while you'll get this Pac-Man thing called a gopher. Place it on any piece you want to remove it and it will gobble up everything on that path. Great for getting rid of failed loop attempts. If you don't use the gopher, no big deal. There is no penalty if you don't place this guy. In chain loops, you simply keep playing until you eventually can't place any more pieces, trying for as high a score as possible. Unfortunately, I don't have a Comlinks cable, so I wasn't able to play 2-player mode. That said, the manual says that when linked, 2 players play simultaneously and you compete for score. You can even play at different difficulty levels. The second mode here is target loops. Here, the goal is still the same. Build loops and try to keep the playfield clean so that you can build more. This time though, you have point targets as presented just below the playfield and above the area that shows you the next piece coming. Reaching this target advances you a level, which gives you a quicker play timer. As is with chain loops, you're just playing for a high score. But this time, a 2-player game has you playing together, taking turns, working towards a single high score that you'll share. The third game mode is the most unique of the 3, called Match Loops. Here, you don't have a blank playfield, but rather one pre-populated with a shape. Each level starts with a sequence where sections of the shape are removed. Then, the goal is to rebuild the shape by replacing the pieces in the correct positions. There are 50 screens to play through here, and although they start really easy, they ramp up in difficulty fast. You'll have to really pay attention to where the removed sections came from. Sometimes an entire section of the shape will be completely gone, and then the first piece that the level gives you isn't even attached to what's left. I hope you remembered where on the grid that shape ended. Here you have a password that shows up in the same location that the point targets were in Target Loopz. And this password updates for every 5 levels that you beat. You have 3 lives in this mode, and anytime that you place a piece in a spot that would result in the wrong shape, you lose one. Keep playing until you beat all 50 levels or lose all 3 of your lives. Match Loopz is a single player only mode. And that's Loopz for the Atari Lynx. So what did I think? This game is perfect as a handheld title. It's exactly the type of thing that's easy to pick up and play for 10 minutes or 2 hours, depending on the amount of time you want to invest. It's also one of those games that's easy to learn but difficult to master. I see a lot of similarities between Loopz and Tetris, where you have limited time to place your pieces, and as you progress, you're only left with your failures. That kind of feel is a great one to have. If you're looking for a fun handheld game that you can enjoy both casually and seriously, I think you'll enjoy this one. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you liked it, and thank you so much to my channel members. I appreciate your support so much. As always, my contact info is in the description, and we'll see you next time on Mike's Gaming Gala.